Pileggi Technical Services, your computers and electronics concierge service. Welcome back. Today we're taking a look at this Dell Inspiron laptop that the owner tells me is having a hard drive issue. They tried to do a scan that I've tried to walk them through. They managed to get it started, but it gave them some errors and ultimately kept restarting the computer. So they gave up on it and gave it to me to take a look at for them. I already have an idea what I think may happen to this, but we'll take a look. Now what I'm going to do is just boot this up, and I think Dell has a built-in diagnostics program, so we're going to give that a shot and see what happens. Now when you boot this computer up, it gives you two options: F2 to go into the system settings, and F12 to go into the boot menu. Now this is the boot menu, and you can see here one of the boot options is diagnostics. So if I go into here, we'll see what this comes up with. Now I don't have the battery installed, so that's what this error is. So we're going to go ahead and let this do its tests, and I'll come back when I get an answer with something here. One thing worth mentioning is I had actually started looking at this computer before I grabbed the camera and decided recording what I was doing. And it was just simply because, you know, I'm working on a couple different projects tonight, and I figured I would get this out and get it started up and start working on it while I was working on, again, other projects. And then I said, let me pull the camera out, because this would be a good one to film. Now the problem with this is when I started this computer up, it took a long time to get into the diagnostics menu. It took a long time to get into any kind of menu. But when it finally did, it told me that this hard drive was not installed. And I confirmed that by going into the BIOS settings and seeing that indeed there was no hard drive installed. So I flipped the computer over and started taking the screws out, because I realized there's no actual hard drive panel on this machine. You actually have to take the whole bottom of the computer apart. The only access they give you is for the memory bays. I got halfway through taking the screws out, and I said, oh, you know, I should take my camera out and make another video. Why not? And then, well, I'm not having that hard drive error now. So this actually leads me to believe that this thing is actually loose inside. That's very possible. So anyway, I'm going to let this continue doing the test anyway, and once that's done, I'll still take the computer apart just to see if it was indeed a loose connection. But if it's not, I have to replace the computer anyway, hard drive anyway. If it is, then, well, I just save this user a couple bucks by having to put a new drive in this thing. So let's see what happens. Well, now as you can see, it did fail the hard drive test. I'm not sure what's going on with this. So like I said, the first time I tested it, it failed right away. This time it started going through the motions, then it failed. So either way, I'm going to test this out to make sure there is no loose hard drive or anything like that, loose wiring. And then I'm also going to do some other little poke arounds here, see if there's anything hardware related. But I have a very good feeling that this hard drive is just shot. I also noticed that this thing is warm. I mean, really warm. I let it run for a little while before, and it got really hot. And yeah, 99 degrees C is pretty freaking hot. I mean, I've seen processors go hotter than that, but whew, that's hot. Maybe this thing was overheating. Not really sure. Alright, well, I'll take it all apart and see what we can find inside. By the way, if I sound all crusty nasally, I'm going through a little bit of a cold right now. I apologize for that. I'm not feeling my best, and, well, when you're not feeling your best, you don't give everything your best performance, so, again, I apologize for that. This particular model likes to have the keyboard removed in order to access the rest of it. Pretty sneaky. And as they say, we're in like Flynn. Unfortunately, the hard drive is not loose. In fact, it's really very well connected. Now, there is a screw missing. However, the screw missing is one of the case screws. So it's time to pull this out and put it on my tech bench computer and see if I can read it on that machine. I'd like to be able to back up the files on it if possible, but being that BIOS doesn't recognize this hard drive, I think that's going to be a moot point. Also, we're going to have to clean that out. I mentioned in prior videos, whenever I have these computers pulled apart and I see that, I have to clean it before I put it back together. So I'll have to take this outside in the daytime and blow this out with my air compressor. In fact, I'll take this whole fan out and take a look at this cooling fin and see how it looks. Holy moly! Wow, no wonder why this thing's getting so hot. That's like a blanket. Jeez, I've never seen that so thick. That is crazy. It's just pulling off of everywhere in here. And the fan just has this like lint everywhere. It's like dryer lint. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna blow all these out. This computer will run much better now that that's cleaned up. It's been a couple days since the last video segment that I shot, so I decided it'd be a good opportunity to give an update. You could see I went ahead and cleared out all the schmunz that was in this vent. I also managed to clean this with some alcohol. I just actually spray some rubbing alcohol right in here and then just blow it out with the air compressor just to help dissipate any stuff that's stuck to the insides of the walls. You can also see that the fan had a cleaning treatment done with alcohol and a brush, right? Just brushed off all the blades on here and restored it back to its new condition. And that'll just, you know, connect back in there, get all connected, screwed in place, whatnot. I also cleaned the board and the rest of the machine as well. So in the time, I also managed to get the hard drive that the user wanted to replace in this computer. Now the old drive is on the left, and that is a standard 5400 RPM 750 gigabyte hard drive. The drive on the left, as you can see by the name on the top, is a 1 terabyte SSHD. Now you've heard of HDDs and you've heard of SSDs, but what's an SSHD? Well, it's a solid state hybrid drive. Basically, this is a 1 terabyte spinning platter hard drive with 8 gigabytes of NAND flash RAM attached to it. The way this thing works is as you use it, the computer will automatically load the sections of commonly used files into its flash memory, whereas a regular hard drive obviously doesn't have that. That extra cache section will really speed this machine up. The only caveat about that is you have to use the system a lot for the hard drive to smartly know which one, which files to load into cache and which ones to leave on the regular memory. So right off the bat, you're not going to notice any real speed difference, especially, there's no speed difference in the hard drives. They're both 5400 RPMs. You could go with a 7200 RPM drive in the same size, but from experience, a lot of times they get too hot in laptops. So I usually recommend just sticking with the 5400 RPM. So what's the user going to gain in this? Well, besides the extra 250 gigabytes of space, they're going to get that boost in performance and speed. Now, by the numbers, from what the claims are, you should see the same performance in this SSHD as you would in the standard SSD. Personally, I'm not really sure about that. But then again, nobody has $500 to go out and buy a 1 terabyte SSD nowadays. Now, in my computer, I've mentioned before that I have a 1 terabyte main drive, a main hard drive, if you will, and I also have a 120 gigabyte SSD, and that's the actual boot drive of the computer, whereas the other drive is for other programs, my data files, so on and so forth. Now, in a laptop, that's not a really
good situation unless you have like a real high-end laptop where you have two actual physical spaces to put a hard drive, which if you do, go for it. Get yourself a good SSD, get yourself a good regular hard drive, and marry the two up together, and you'll have a smoking laptop. If you have the money, obviously, just get yourself a really big 1 terabyte drive. But $500 on any one part, to me, isn't really worth it. I mean, unless you're buying like a video card, and even that's a stretch unless you're a gamer. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get this hard SSHD. Don't want to really call it a hard drive, even though it's basically a hard drive, but this SSHD, we're going to get that mounted into the bracket that the old hard drive sits in, and then we'll get that put back into the computer case here. Now, I don't have to fully assemble this. I just have to make sure, you know, at least the fan's connected and the hard drive's connected. I also need to put the CD-ROM drive back in, and what I'm going to do is start reloading the operating system on this. Now, I don't have the original Dell CD for this computer. What I do have is the original retail version of Windows 7. Now, they're both going to work the same, except for the Dell version is obviously configured for Dell PCs. You also get bloatware with that, and some things you might necessarily need now, especially since you've had the computer for a few years. So, loading the direct Windows retail version on this computer, in my opinion, is the best way to go, because you're going to get the cleanest operating system. The thing about using that is I have to use the code that's on the actual case. Fortunately, I do have that. Worst case scenario, I do have access to the old hard drive. It does actually power up and it is readable on my other machine, but not for very long before the hard drive starts giving you the click error. So if I had to actually get into the old system registry and read the code for the key for Windows, I could do that, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'm just going to go ahead and use the code in the back of the computer. Then once that computer is online for a few days and it gets all the pertinent updates installed, it should prompt me to do the Windows 10 update, which is what the customer originally had. They also had a USB 3.0 1 terabyte external hard drive that they were using to back up the Windows 7 and the Windows 10 installation. Now, I did manage to plug that into my other computer. I can read the Windows 7 backup. The Windows 10 backup is actually a complete system image. I don't really want to use that. I have the opportunity to work on this for a couple days. I'd rather, you know, give the customer back this computer with a clean operating system and let them install what programs they want. I will use the update, the backup, to find whatever files I can't actually get off the hard drive. Unfortunately, the Windows 7 backup is one of those backups where I can go in and itemize which items I want to do, whereas the system image is just exactly that. It's a one-for-one copy that I have to take as is. So if I can get it off the original hard drive, that's going to be the way to go. If not, then I'm going to have to root for it and find it in the archive. And at either rate, once I'm done with that and I'm comfortable with everything on it, and the customer's comfortable on it and everything on it, I'm going to suggest to them that they wipe that drive clean, start from scratch with their backups, and get this machine in a good backed up state once they have all the programs installed on it. So with that, let me break here, get this computer back to a running status, and we'll see what we get with Windows 7 on it. Well, I let this computer run for a few days and do all the updates. There was at least 260, I'd say. I also went ahead and put the Microsoft Security Essentials program on here, CCleaner, Malwarebytes, just a few things that I usually put on computers when I get them set up. And I'm, you know, working on a couple things tonight on some other projects, and I just happened to turn around and notice that the Windows 10 logo was on the corner of the screen down in the system tray, which is great. It means it's ready for the update. It seems like once I did the security program, this was the next thing. And I've actually been waiting for that since last night. You know, I figured after all the updates it did, it was going to pretty much get to this point, but it didn't. And now I know why. It's because of the Security Essentials was the last thing it needed. It didn't have any kind of security program on here, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the prerequisites to Windows 10. I got all the drivers updated on this. There's no
little exclamation points when you go into the device manager, which is great. So it seems like the machine's running really well, and it's a prime time to do this. Now, I did manage to access the customer's backup hard drive with this. They did have a Windows 7 backup, and then they also have file history for Windows 10. I figured I would get the files out of the Windows 7 backup while I was in Windows 7, and then when I get to Windows 10, I'll run the file history program and I'll see what I can dig out of that. There is some files I can read on the old hard drive. The problem is after a little while the platters start to, I should say the heads start to click on you, and that of course means it's not going to work very well, and I'm not very confident in that. So I'll try to get what I can off of the Windows 10 file history backup once I get into Windows 10, but right now we have to get there first, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this go. And yeah, I'll come back when it's done. It'll probably just take, hour tops. And here we are at the Windows 10 desktop. Installation, of course, was really easy and didn't have any problems. So right now it's just going through the process of archiving the backup drive and taking count what's on there so I can get that updated and restore whatever files I missed on the Windows 7 update. And once that's done, I'm going to back the machine up, have a good restore point, and contact the customer, and we'll get together so I can get it to them. With that, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions on how to do these procedures, or if you'd like to get your machine in my hands and so I can take care of it for you, I'll have some details in the description below where you can contact me. With that, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more.